The Glendale Road Church of Christ proudly presents a weekly exploration of the Word of our living God. This is It Is Written.
Romans chapter 13 gives us the study for this morning by way of at least a springboard into where we want to go. And when we look at the subject, honor to whom honor is due, we're talking about the subject of respect, adoration, and especially the concept of thankfulness. We see someone who is worthy of our gratitude, and that is honor. When we think about the subject, we realize that in the text and the context of Romans 13, we have civil government under consideration. And here the great apostle Paul says, "Let every soul be subject unto the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Then do what is good, and you'll have the praise from the same. For he is God's minister to you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, because he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath on him who practices evil. Therefore, you must be subject not only because of wrath, but for conscience sake. For because of this you also pay taxes, for they are God's ministers, attending continually to this very thing. Render therefore to all their due, taxes to whom taxes are due, custom to whom customs are due, fear to whom fear, and honor to whom honor." You and I live in the land of the free and the home of the brave. We live in the most wonderful nation on earth. People from all over the world want to come in, and we don't forbid people who want to leave. When you think of the wonderful privileges, rights, honors, and responsibilities that are ours as American citizens, how could you let Veterans Day go by without expressing in some way your deep appreciation for those who now serve, and especially those who have served in the armed forces of the United States of America? We have that wonderful opportunity every year on November the 11th to give honor to whom honor is due. And in this particular case, and especially from Romans chapter 13, we know we're dealing with civil government. I'd like to encourage you to do something else on this subject. Give honor to whom honor is due when it comes to the elected officials, regardless of how much you or I may differ with the conclusions of some of those officials, with the decisions and with the conduct and with the way of getting things done and with the outcome. Remember, it is God's appointed leadership. I don't think God chooses individual leaders, but I believe that God in His own wisdom has set in order by divine authority the home, the church, and civil government. And when we respect those, we're respecting God. And when you differ with the President of the United States, you have every right to differ with him. Remember, he's the President. And therefore, and because of that, he is deserving of a certain level of honor simply because of the office he holds. Anybody who's in a position of authority deserves the respect that goes with that office. That includes all of the elected officials in Washington, That includes all of the elected officials in Frankfort. It includes all of the elected officials in county and city government locally. Now, kidding is fun, and I love to do it. I can dish it out, and sometimes I can take it. But there comes a point when kidding reaches its limit. And when it steps over the line of disrespect, that's where you and I do not want to go. It extends all the way down to authority in everything that is associated with those who lead us. I happen to have grown up in a home where I was taught that the teacher is right at school even when the teacher is dead wrong. And by that I simply mean the teacher is the teacher. Therefore, that teacher is in charge in that classroom. You're not. You're a student. And then there's the principal. And then there are the administrators. And you keep moving up the chain until you finally reach Frankfort and then Washington. When I was in the 3rd grade, I was slapped on my left ear by a 4th grade teacher who saw me misbehaving. Or at least she thought I was misbehaving. I'm sure she was mistaken. But there's a chance she could have been right. But she slapped me on my left ear. I have never heard right since. One time in my entire childhood did my dad take up for me instead of the teacher. I wrote it down. It's a red letter day at our house because the teacher was always right. In this case, the teacher was in the wrong. Not that I hadn't misbehaved, not that I didn't need discipline, but he went to her and in kindness said to her, I do not mind you spanking my son. I know he needs it sometime, but God gave him a place to be spanked, and that is not it. And her response was, he dodged. And my dad said, I don't know where you were aiming, but that surely is not a good answer. Did I need discipline? Yes. Is it appropriate for a person in authority to abuse that authority? No, it is not. Can you show respect for the office and at the same time disagree? Yes, do it. It's right and honorable to do it, but still maintain the respect for the office that is being held. That's God's way. Remember that when it comes to senators, to representatives in Washington, to state senators and state representatives in Frankfort, to the governor, to the president, to the vice president, to the Supreme Court justices, all the way through everything in government, even down to the local level, the mayor, the city council members, the judge executive, the magistrates, the elected officials who are serving in their offices, they are due honor from you and me. Why? Because we believe Romans chapter 13 as well as the rest of the Bible, where that is enjoined upon us, and we do it not to avoid the penalties, but we avoid the penalties by doing it out of love for God and respect for authority. If we don't learn respect for authority somewhere, we're going to have a miserable life. Now, in order to understand honor to whom honor is due, and the idea is really one of valuing someone or some office and the person then who represents it. Let's look at a few examples in the Bible. For instance, we need to be sure that we are treating this idea of respect in home and family. Be sure and understand that the way God set up the family, it is to be operated by those who are mature enough to know how to operate it. Therefore, we see the husband and the wife who are leading the sons and the daughters. Now, that may be a novel idea in some families, but it's still God's idea, and it is to be respected by you and me. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with you and you may live long on the earth. And you fathers, and by the way, this term that is translated fathers is also translated parents in Hebrews chapter 11. You parents, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. The authority in the home rests with the parents. And we find even where the husband is to give honor to the wife. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 7. And the wife is to respect her husband. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 33. So when we put it together, what we have is God's order, where God is still God. And in the home, the parents are in charge. And the children are brought up in that security of knowing who's in charge, and they have a better childhood when they know they're going to be treated fairly by the parents, and when they also are going to be disciplined for misbehavior because it's an act of love. The home will operate much, much better if we give honor to whom honor is due in the God-ordained system of the home. And then in employment. Read it for yourself in Ephesians chapter 6. Servants, be obedient to your masters. Masters, do right by your servants. We don't have slavery in this country today, but we do have employers and employees. And when you are an employee, you have an opportunity to show honor to your employer by doing your job and doing it well and doing even more than is expected of you and having a good attitude and creating a good environment among the others who also work at the same job. And if you're the employer, you have an opportunity to show honor to whom honor is due by treating the employees with respect. They're not in charge. They work for you and you're in charge. But if it becomes a power struggle, there's likely to be trouble somewhere down the line. If it is a great atmosphere of genuine respect for the authority of God and genuine respect for the authority of those in leadership in that organization, you can have people working there who are thankful to have a job, who are glad that you're the boss because you're fair. You're a believer. You're honoring God by treating the employees with respect, paying just wages and sometimes even generous wages, showing courtesy and kindness. And at the same time, it's a two-way street. Give honor to whom honor is due in your employment. Where are you going tomorrow? Some of you are going to get up and go to work in the morning, and it could be that it's a paycheck on Friday, and that's all it is, and it's horrible the rest of the week. May I encourage you to get up tomorrow? Get your shower, get dressed, whatever you do to get ready to go to work, and determine to give honor to whom honor is due. You say, but you don't know who I work for. I'm not discussing personalities. I'm talking about the principle. Respect for authority. And the Christian will view this differently from the way of the world. Therefore, when you go to work tomorrow as an employee, go in with the determination, I am a child of God, I believe Romans 13, and I'm going to take that principle with me into the workplace, and I'm going to try to be a good influence on the others who also work here so that we can honor God and we can also do a good job of what we're doing. And there are some bosses who will actually notice and will appreciate it, and you may be rewarded financially or you may be rewarded in some other way, but with recommendations and even advancement, it can be worth a great deal to you. But the reason you do it is because you love the Lord and because you believe the Bible. And then there's the principle of the church. Honor to whom honor is due. Well, what does that mean? Hebrews 13, 7 and 17 tells us that we are to obey them who have the rule over us because they watch for our souls, that they may be able to give account for us with joy and not with grief. And so when you think of 1 Timothy 5:17, there the Apostle Paul said some elders are worthy of double honor. He could be talking about financial reimbursement or financial remuneration, and it could be that he isn't speaking of finances at all. But here in leadership of the church, there is to be honor given to the person who serves as an elder because of the honor given to the eldership, because of honor given to the Lord who is the chief shepherd. Let us never do anything disrespectful or say anything disrespectful about the office of elder. It's God's way of operating a local church. Do elders always make the right decisions? I've never met an elder yet who bragged about making the right decisions always. Do I always agree with the decisions of the elders? No. Do elders always agree with the decisions of the elders? No. It's very human. But honor to whom honor is due says, I am a member of this church by choice. I didn't have to come here. I could have gone somewhere else to church. But I'm here by choice. And I love and honor and respect those who shepherd the flock, and I want to be a cooperative, supportive, prayerful child of God who sees God's order of leadership in the church, and therefore we do not have majority rule. Majority rule is good in many places, but it doesn't work in the church. I knew about a church, I've told some of you before. I've told some of you everything I've ever known before. But I'll tell you again in case you've forgotten. I know about a church, brand X somewhere, who decided that they would have a business meeting on a Wednesday night. And the kids all got together. The young people all got together, and they were all members. And they decided that they wanted to put red carpet throughout the entire church building. They thought that'd look pretty, and they liked red carpet. So they got together, they were in the business meeting, and it was decided in the business meeting that they would put red carpet throughout the whole thing. Well, the older members who skipped the business meeting didn't like that one bit. So they called a special business meeting on Sunday after church and rescinded the ridiculous rules that were adopted on Wednesday night. Now, how does that work? That's majority rule. That's pretty good in some organizations. It's not too good in the church. If majority rule had been in order, God would have drowned Noah and his family and left all the wicked people out there because they were the vast majority. Majority rule is not God's way. Thou shalt not follow the multitude to do evil. Many go in at the wide gate that leads to destruction, and few there be that find the narrow way that leads to life. We're not talking about majority rule. We're talking about the rule of Jesus Christ as Lord, and He's the head of His church. And then He has said through His holy word that shepherds are to tend the flock of God among you, 1 Peter chapter 5, verses 1 to 4. Good communication, yes. The deserving of respect because of respectability, yes. But even when I may differ with a decision of the elders, I have the responsibility to back it unless it is biblically wrong. If it's opposed to Jesus, I'm standing with Jesus, not with elders. But if I can stand with Jesus and not be opposing Jesus, and then it's a matter of judgment, it's a matter of expediency, I'm with the shepherds. I said that when I came here in 1973. I've said it many times since. I'll say it again, and I'll say it until I die. I'm backing the elders who shepherd me and who shepherd you. And I beg you to do the same. They're not little tin gods to be worshiped, but they are shepherds tending the flock. They're not cowboys so that they can hog tie and brand us, but they are leading us, hopefully, in the pathway of righteousness in following Jesus, who is the chief shepherd. honor to whom honor is due, says that I value God-ordained leadership and I do not want to deviate from that. Honor is due everybody, everywhere, because we're made in the image of God. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 17 says, honor all men. And it isn't men versus women, it's all people. In fact, one translation says all peoples. And that is a good way of looking at it. Honor every human being on earth as being created in the image of God, someone for whom Jesus shed His precious blood. So that includes those who are in jail. Do you know that many people are in jail today only because they got caught? There are many people who have done equal or worse things who are still out there, who just haven't gotten caught or haven't gotten caught yet. Being in jail is a stigma. Being in jail sometimes makes things worse because you get ideas from others who are also incarcerated, and you go out then finally and you can do worse things than you did the first time, trying hard the next time not to get caught. But every person in jail is someone made in the image of God and someone for whom Jesus died. Honor that person as a valuable human being, but try to love that person where he or she is and love that person too much to leave the person there. Honor everybody. No exceptions. You say, but you just don't realize how my parents treat me, or you don't realize how somebody at church treated me, or you don't realize the employment situation that I'm in. It is so hard. It is so anti-religious and anti-spiritual. I understand that there are jobs like that. But give honor where it is due. Don't overdo it. Don't bid Godspeed to error and wickedness, but at the same time, honor people. All people deserve some honor. Value them because they are special. And God can use people who used to have the same style of life as Saul of Tarsus and became the Apostle Paul. There are people who are in sordid circumstances today who are not living as they should live. Honor them properly and lead them out of the error and wickedness, whatever it might be, and see that as Saul could become Paul, that person can become a child of God and has a story to tell that can encourage other people who are also struggling with their choices and with their morals. Let's not give up on people until they're dead. And once they're dead, we can move on to somebody else. But as long as there's breath, there might be some hope. Let's keep praying for people and keep working with people because they are to be honored. They are valued. The Lord places high value on people. And that includes the people who don't look like you do or I do. People of different ethnic backgrounds. People who do not have the money that we do. People who do not have the status that we do. Regardless of all of those differentiations in human ways of doing things, honor them. God loves them, and I need to learn how to love them too. Now, the most important thing I'm going to say today is this. And it has to do with our honoring God in view of all these areas of application, because God is God. And He is deserving of all honor and praise that we can give Him. For instance, in 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 17, and now to the King eternal, invisible, the only true God, be glory and honor now and forever. What I want to learn to do is to make decisions every day that will honor God. These and other areas of application that we've mentioned can take it to work with me tomorrow, can take it home with me even today, can take it wherever I go. I can find application for it. But the thing I'm trying to do is not to get a raise at work. I love working free. I've always wanted to be able to do this. I don't have to be paid anymore. Now, you younger people, please keep paying your Social Security. You may not get it, but I'm getting it. Thank you. But I love working without having to be paid. But what I want to do is honor God. I never had as a goal to get rich. But I want to have the goal of honoring God with whatever I'm entrusted with. And by the way, according to the world standards, you and I are both rich. All of us in this room are rich. Don't boast about it and don't deny it. We're all rich. But the thing that's important is not how many dollars do I have control of. That can change pretty fast. The thing that's important is, am I honoring God with what I have and seeing it as a blessing from God? Am I using it to the glory of God? My time, my talent, my money, whatever it might be, am I using it to the glory of God? And so then I have to make decisions about moral choices. As I come to understand what that means, I'm going to be sure that I try to honor God in my moral choices. You say, well, I have this temptation that just keeps coming up, and it just doesn't stop. The temptation will be there. Remember, in this world you have tribulation, Jesus said. John 16:33. And remember that no temptation has taken you but such as is common to man, but God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted above that you're able, but will with the temptation provide also the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. 1 Corinthians 10:13. But when the temptations come, not if they come, when the temptations come, I stop and ask myself the question, if I go through with this, is it going to honor God? So somebody calls and says, what are you doing tonight? I'm not doing anything. I don't have a lot of money. I've got a little money, and you pool yours with mine, and we'll get drunk. How's that? Let's do that. You say, well, I ain't got anything else to do. Why not? And then you think for a moment, now, is this going to honor God? Is my getting drunk going to honor God? No. No, He taught me better than that. Therefore, if I respect the authority of God and I'm trying to honor God in my decisions, I'm not going to make that choice to do what is wrong when I know it's wrong. Sexual immorality, rampant in our world. How do you make your decision about it? Make your decision before the moment arrives. I'm going to honor God. 1 Corinthians chapters 5 and 6 will tell me to honor God. Rather than dishonor Him by dishonoring my body, I will not do that. Somebody will make fun. Let them laugh. Honor God in every decision, every day, no matter what, and keep striving to do that. But somebody says, but you don't realize how weak and frail I am. You don't realize how many times I stumble and fall. Oh, yes, I do. I live in the same world you do. And I have the same kind of mind and body that you have. And I know that I stumble. But the question is not, do I stumble? The answer to that is yes. The question is, who is my Lord? Whom am I honoring? If I want to honor Satan, I'll live like the devil. If I want to honor the Lord, I will at least make a good faith effort to live like the Lord. But there's one passage I want to summarize and conclude with this morning. And that's in 1 John chapter 1, verses 5 through 7. Here John says, if we walk in the light, as He is in the light, we have fellowship one with the other. And the blood of Jesus Christ, His Son, cleanses us from all sin. Now take that apart for a minute and look at it. If we walk in the light, The light is the gospel. The light, Jesus is the light of the world. Thy word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my way. I'm trying to follow the Bible by following Jesus' example and teachings. If we walk in the light as He, God, is in the light, we have fellowship one with the other. I have fellowship with God. God has fellowship with me. And I have fellowship with you if you are a fellow struggler in trying to walk in the light. Our commitment is to walk in the light, to honor God by the decisions we make. If we walk in the light as He is in the light, we have fellowship one with the other. And the blood of Jesus Christ, His Son, cleanses and cleanses and cleanses and cleanses us of our what? Sin. Well, you say you're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You said you were walking in the light. You talk about needing cleansing of sin. No, I'm talking right out of the middle of my mouth and saying those who walk in the light don't do it perfectly. You can't do it perfectly. I can't either. Why don't we all quit? Let's just quit. Or let's decide anew to honor God by striving to walk in the light, knowing we're not going to do it perfectly, but relying on His grace, His mercy, His forgiveness, and the forgiveness, mercy, and grace of His people who are fellow strugglers. And let's not quit. Jesus died a horrible death so I could be saved from sin. He didn't quit. He could have called 10,000 angels to destroy the world and set Him free. But He didn't. He died alone for you and me. He gave His all for us. Let's don't give Him any less than all. And so we stumble. We get discouraged. We're not sure He can even forgive us because we've come to Him so many times with penitence, with a desire for reformation and for reconciliation. What are we going to do? Keep on keeping on as you honor God. And if you didn't honor Him that day, honor Him the next day and learn from the mistakes. Ask yourself the question, is this going to honor God? If it's not, let me leave it off. If it is, let me do it with energy, with enthusiasm. And let me be an influence on others who are also struggling. Let's stop the big me, little you concept. And let's always realize that we are strugglers. We work among fellow strugglers. Let's struggle together. I love your fellowship. I love your fellowship. I need your help. I need your forgiveness. I need your prayers. I want you to have my forgiveness, my prayers, my fellowship as we struggle down this road together, honoring the same God. It can be done, and it can be done better as we mature in the faith and stop judging each other and making harsh remarks about each other. Let's honor God at home, at work, at church, among all peoples, especially in regard to the context of Romans 13 with civil authority, but honor God. There are those in this room who believe Jesus is the Son of God, but you haven't said so. And believing Jesus is the Son of God and you're genuinely penitent of sin in your life, but you haven't been baptized like the New Testament teaches, and you know you want to, and you've even talked about it. Why not do it today? You say, well, I'm just not sure about this and that and the other. Well, just step out in faith that the Lord will help you and bless you and empower you to do what He says. Tell Him you want to honor Him and then do what He says. And let Him help you honor Him. He wants to be honored. He deserves to be honored by people like you and me. Let us reach out to Him for the help to do what He wants us to do and what will please Him the most. If you've strayed from Him, come home. If you need the prayers of those who love you, come. And let's be able to help each other honor God in a better and better way. Would you come while we stand and sing?
Holy words, this has been It Is Written, presented by the Glendale Road Church of Christ. We welcome your visits and communications at any time.
With God's own heart, oh, let the ancient words impart.